Hey guys, this is another Baldur's Gate 3 video. Today I'm just going to be going through my party setup. My characters are currently level 4, which I think is the maximum level for early access. So most of the fights I've been able to navigate fairly successfully. I think I'm probably about 50% or 2/3 of the way through the game, so I thought it'd be a good time to do party composition and party setup video, just in case you guys are struggling, and you can pick up anything from my own party setup. So this I'm in the camp screen at the moment. Got all my companions here. Obviously you can't have all of the 5 companions in your main party, so I'm just going to go through. The setup seems to be working for me at the moment. So first of all, there's my custom character. His name is Calgar. He's a gold dwarf, and cleric, life domain cleric. So I really want to make a cleric for my main character. I think they're solid all-round class in the party, and given the fact that they're going to be in the party all the time, you want somebody who's fairly solid in terms of melee and also healing as well, and it gives you a few more options in terms of who else you want to have in the party. I went for life domain because I wanted that extra focus on healing and also the ability to wear heavy armor, and I went for a dwarf because there's no dwarf in the companions, and particularly like dwarves, and particularly dwarven clerics. So that's my main character. As my rogue, I have Astarion, so I've specialized him in the thief proficiency as opposed to arcane trickster. I thought it's better just to focus him on the rogue and thief specific skills. I've got other people who can deal with the magic side of things. Then I've got Gale, who's my wizard. Focused him on the evocation school, which is focused more on attack, particularly light wizards, particularly sort of fire, ice, electricity, damage spells. The abjuration school is a bit more based on support, but I've got my cleric to do the support side of things, so thought I'd focus him on evocation. I think it's just a bit more fun as well, that extra sort of damage focus. And last but not least, I've got Lizelle as my fighter, so I've specialized her in the Battlemaster subclass. Again, she's a bit more focused on melee damage as opposed to any sort of spells. I've got 2 people in my party who can cast spells and deal with that side of it, so I thought better just to focus her on the core abilities of a fighter in terms of melee and outright damage. Just in terms of the races, obviously my custom character is a dwarf, who I think they're particularly gold dwarfs have the extra wisdom, which makes them pretty handy as clerics. Astarion, he's an elf, so again that extra dexterity helps with the rogue abilities based mostly on dexterity. Lizelle, she's a Githyanki, so she gets that extra bonus to strength, which really helps in her fighter abilities. Gale, he's a human. They're generally all round good at, so fairly decent in most classes. Just dealing with the gear then. So my cleric, I've found this really cool looking helmet. This you can find somewhere. I think it's near the what's the place called? Near the Risen Road. You can find this helmet in a secret armory. I think it's really cool looking helmet. It really suits him. The chain shirt is actually what I obtained from what's her name, Shadowheart, but I just thought it looked better on him, and I've just changed her build slightly, making her more into a rogue-like character, so giving her more light armor. I think this really suits him though, and I picked him a few good items of gear along the way as well. So I've got him equipped with a Faithbreaker hammer, which gives a 1d8 plus 1 bludgeoning damage, so that's really handy. Got the studded shield, which is, you get loads of these during the course of the game, so that's pretty standard cleric gear. And it's always worth having your characters engaged, equipped with a ranged weapon as well, because there's no extra action point for switching between melee and ranged weapons in this game. So I've got him equipped with a light crossbow. Next, moving on to Astarion, my rogue. So I've given him a leather helmet. You can pick one of these up in the store when you go to the Druid's Grove, and there's also one you can obtain in a chest close by as well. Given him leather armor. I've changed him out from the armor that he comes with. This sort of leather armor you can pick up pretty much throughout your playthrough. It gives a +3 to dexterity, so that's pretty helpful. I've equipped him with short swords. These focus on dexterity as the damage output, so these are really helpful for a rogue, and he can dual wield these as well, so that's really handy. And equipped him with the longbow as well. As an elf, he gets the longbow proficiency as well, so I use him in ranged combat quite a lot. Next, move on to Gale. So in fact, his headgear, the circlet, this is something also obtained from Shadowheart, so I think it looks pretty cool on him. I've got the Robe of Summer, which is something that you obtain after you've defeated the goblin leaders, and that's one of your rewards for doing so. So it looks pretty cool on him. That actually gives you resistance to cold damage, which is really handy. It looks pretty cool on him as well. I've equipped him with the staff, the Rain Dancer, which gives an additional create water spell, and it gets an extra action topple as well. This is something I purchased. I think it was in the Druid's Grove, so I think it's worth the purchase. He comes equipped with the standard quarterstaff, but this is a bit more wizardy, so to speak. As a secondary weapon, I've given a short bow as well, but it's unlikely I'll be using that very often because he doesn't have the proficiency in that. It's just if he is stuck. I don't think I've ever actually used it with him. It's just as a fallback if there's nothing else he can do. And then Lysel, this helmet, you can actually pick it up in the Blighted Village. I think it looks really cool. I think there's some history behind it because it's slightly damaged, but it gives her that really sort of crazy look, so I think it really suits her. She comes equipped with her Gift Yankee half plate, which gives her 15 AC, which is pretty solid actually. I'm not sure you can actually find any better armor so far in the game anyway. I've equipped her with these metallic gloves, and in her melee weapon, two-handed great axe +1. This gives you 1d12 +1 slashing damage. This is a pretty ferocious weapon, and with a two-handed weapon, she'll make pretty short work of your enemies in melee. Also equipped with a longbow because she's got the longbow proficiency as a fighter. So the good thing about Lysel is she does pretty decent damage in both in melee and ranged combat as well. So that's the basic sort of breakdown of the races, the classes, and the gear. Moving on, these are just what they've come with in the inventory. Just going through their stats. So clearly my cleric, his main stat is Wisdom, so that gives him +5 on animal handling and insight, and +3 on medicine and perception, +5 on survival, so that's really handy. My rogue, he's got +17 dexterity, that's his main stat, so he gets a +5 on acrobatics, sleight of hand, and stealth. My wizard, he's got +17 on 17 on intelligence. That gives him a +5 on Arcana, History, and Investigation, +3 on Nature and Religion. And my fighter has 17 Strength, so that gives +5 on Athletics. So I think it's pretty useful. This is pretty standard D&D party, fighter, cleric, rogue, and wizard. But in a four-man team, man or woman team, I think it's pretty useful to have a variety of different abilities, because that actually gives you a lot of options when it comes to skill checks. If you want to focus more on charisma, it might be helpful to bring along a warlock, particularly with deception. But other than that, that covers most bases. So the both the dwarf and the elf come with dark vision, which is really helpful because there's a lot of underground passages here, and equipping the torch will use a hand slot as well. But in any event, you can pick up the dark vision spell if you need to, and you can use that as well if they don't have the dark vision proficiency. Just looking at their spells, so I'm just going to deal with the rogue and the fighter first because theirs a bit simpler. So the rogue, the main attack is the sneak attack. This is really useful, particularly if it's used from cover. It does a lot of damage and it covers both range and melee. Minor illusion I haven't used so much, but it would be pretty handy if you want to just look after them a bit more. Animal friendship as well. You do come across lots of animals in this game, so that's pretty handy. In fact, I think he got that from his gear, but it comes in handy as well. So Astarion comes with this unique ability called Vampire Bite, which is a bit of a fun ability. You suck the blood from a living creature and regain 2d4 hit points. So it's basically like a heal, but you're doing damage at the same time. He does, I believe, need to be in pretty close range to them, but still it's pretty handy, and it basically acts like a little heal for him. Cunning action dash, this doubles the movement speed, which is pretty useful because quite often in this game your positioning makes a big difference to the amount of damage that you do. So being able to move your character quickly into either cover or in elevated position or getting them behind your opponent really makes a big difference in terms of the amount of damage. He's dual wielding, so he gets a offhand attack as well. So this is basically an extra attack after your main attack, which is really handy because quite often you'll get your enemy down to like 1 or 2 hit points, and then the next round they might be able to either heal themselves or damage you, kill off one of your party members. So having that extra attacks just to finish them off is really useful. And then he's got Ink Blot as well, which creates a cloud of magical darkness and basically allows him to go into cover, which is really handy as well because as I've said already, attacking your enemies from cover will make a big difference to the damage that you do. Moving on to my fighter Lizelle, she's got this ability Action Surge. This is really helpful. It allows her to use an extra action that round, and as I said before, quite often you'll get your enemy damage to about 1 or 2 hit points and you want to finish them off. Having that action surge so you can do an extra action really makes a big difference. She's got this pushing attack as well, which I haven't used too much to be honest, but this one is really handy. Menacing attack, both ranged and melee. This is 1d12 plus 4 plus 1d8 slashing damage. That does insane damage, and it's really handy when you want to bring your opponents down to size quickly, particularly when there's multiple opponents. You want to finish them off quickly, or if you've got one opponent who's got a lot of hits. That's really been a lifesaver for me on several occasions. She's got this cantrip Mage Hand as well, which to be honest I haven't used too much. It creates an invisible spectral hand that can manipulate and interact with objects. She's got this jump ability as well, so she can touch a creature to triple its jumping distance. As I've already said, being able to move your party members into the right position in combat is crucial for damage, particularly if you can jump to a more elevated position. That's going to increase your damage, so that's really helpful. Or you can actually jump behind your opponent before you actually damage them, because jumping doesn't count as a main action, it's an extra action, so that's really handy. She's got a psionic pull as well, so if you she's actually pretty decent in ranged damage, but if you do want to just bring them up close, you can get up close and personal, so to speak. That's really handy as well, although I haven't used it that much to be honest. Rally is a good ability to use before you enter combat. So this will basically give one of your party members an additional 8 hit points. So given the fact that they're fairly low on hits at this early stage of the game, that's really handy. And she's got second wind as well, which basically acts as a heal, and she can just increase her hits with that. Moving over to my cleric, so it comes with the action turn undead to be honest, I mean, that's one of the main things that you'd associate with a cleric, but to be honest, I haven't really used it much in the game so far because I haven't come across any undead, and I'm not sure we actually will in early access. Preserve life. This is really handy healing spell, and restores 3 times 4 hit points to allied creatures. It's got quite good range as well. And then he's got a lot of support spells, abjuration, mostly boosts a creature's defenses, guidance, bestowing guidance upon a creature, default bonus to an ability check, and so those are pretty handy. Sacred Flame, this is more of a damage based ability. However, it doesn't, it's quite difficult to hit with it because a lot of the enemies that you face in early access will have a high dexterity, and that's the attacks that save that you have to throw. So I find it doesn't hit that often, so I haven't really been using that much. Light is always helpful because you will have a lot of dark areas in here. And he, as a cleric, has to pre-prepare his spells. So the ones I've gone with are Halt, which basically prevents an enemy taking action, Cure Wounds, another healing spell, but you do need to be in pretty close proximity to whoever you're healing, but obviously you can use it on yourself, and it does 1d8 plus 3 hit points, so that's really helpful. Bless is a really good spell before you go into combat. This can bless up to 3 creatures, so basically your 3 party members. They receive a default bonus to attack rolls and saving throws, which makes a big difference in these fights. Shield of Faith, so this will actually increase the companions for your own AC by 2. Inflict Wounds, this does 3d10 damage. This you have to be in fairly close range, so I haven't used it that much, but it's a useful thing to have. Bane, this is in a way the opposite of Bless, so rather than buffing your own party, you're debuffing the enemy. Healing Word, this is really helpful because again, it's got fairly good range as well, so you can heal your party members with 1d4 plus 3 hit points. And level 2, most of these are just sort of buffed up slightly. He's also got Lesser Restoration, which removes one disease or condition afflicting creature. That's really useful. Prayer of Healing, another healing spell. This is 2d8 plus 3. So this is the good thing about the Life Domain Cleric, he's got a lot of options. This one I haven't got selected at the moment, but Aid will bolster your allies with toughness and resolve, and heals and increases the hit point maximum by 5 hits. Blindness as well is a useful debuff, and he's got a bonus action Survival Instinct as well. I haven't used this that much, to be honest, but it's an extra little thing that you can rely on. And then my Wizard Gale, he's got the action Arcane Recovery. This is really helpful because it can replenish your spell slots, allow you to cast spells again. I haven't really used it that much because in the game at the moment you can pretty much go to camp whenever you need to. Well, sorry, not whenever you need to, but between fights. And generally I've found that the spells and abilities you have will bring you through even some of the lengthier fights. But it's a useful thing to have. He's got a number of cantrips, which are obviously not as powerful as his spells, but still pretty useful. Got standard stuff: Firebolt, Mage Hand, Ray of Frost, Resistance, and Acid Splash. In terms of his spells, Witch Bolt, this is 1d12 lightning damage, so it's really handy if you can combine that with a water spell. That way you can electrocute the water. Ray of Frost, again, you can use in the same way and hopefully freeze your opponents. He's got Mage Armor as well, which is again really useful spell to use before combat because it will increase the armor class by 3, which is quite a lot actually in this game, makes a big difference. Grease is really useful because if your enemy is prone, then you can do extra damage. So if you throw grease on the ground around them, if they trip over, then you can do extra damage. You can also light the grease on fire and then do that extra fire damage as well. Featherfall, this is pretty handy because you do have a lot of sort of up and down height in this game, and quite often you will actually have to jump down some um, pretty lofty areas, mountains and hills, and if you don't have Featherfall, then you will incur some damage, so it's useful to have that. And absolutely love this spell, Magic Missile. The great thing about it is that it will hit 100% of the time, so you can do a hell of a lot of damage with this spell, and you can it gives you more than one missile to throw, so you can either throw them on multiple opponents if they've got low hits, or train them all on one if they've got a lot of hits. So really helpful spell. Create Water, I've discussed that already, and then these are basically upgrades on those spells. Dark Vision, already explained, you do go into a lot of dark areas, particularly as he's a human. It's really handy for him to have that. The other great thing about the wizard is that they can learn spells that you pick up from scrolls. So as when you pick up the scrolls on the way, they're not just a single use. If your wizard doesn't already have the spell, he can actually learn it for a certain amount of gold, and then it basically enters his spell book, and you can use it whenever, provided it's been pre-prepared. So that's really handy. Ray of Frost, this is really a handy spell as well. Does 2d6 fire damage. And Misty Step, this is basically a teleport spell, and this is really useful because I've already explained being able to move around the battlefield and gain that height advantage is really handy, or moving into cover, and that allows him to do that quickly. And he's got this bonus action as well, Reflective Shell. I haven't really used this too much, to be honest, but if you need that extra defense, it will be pretty handy. So those are the spells and abilities. I think the next icon is actually to do with crafting. I don't think they've got that in this game. So yeah, that's it. That's my team. Hopefully you found that useful. Like I said, it's important to have a well-rounded team, and with a variety of different abilities. Those are the ones that seem to be working for me at the moment. But I would be interested to hear your thoughts as well. what sort of party composition have you got? What breakdown of classes? What have you gone with your main character? And also, which companions have you chosen to go with, and why? And yeah, let me know what's worked for you, whether you agree, disagree, how you found the combat in here, what little techniques you found helpful. If you did like the video, then please do give it a thumbs up. It will really help my channel. And if you'd like to watch more videos like this, please do subscribe as well. See you on the next one.